Welcome to another daily devotion with Pastor Andrew. That's me. So here we are, a couple days after. Oh, they took my calendar down. A couple days after Christmas. It is the 27th. We are in the midst of this Christmas season. Oh, my hair is all messed up. And we're pondering, what does it mean to have Christ now, or God now with us? I mean, for us as post-resurrection Christians, we might say, oh, well, we know this already, and this is just a continuation. Pardon me as I fix my collar. A continuation of what we already know. But is it? That's really a part of this electionary season, is to begin with this, in a sense, this new birth, right? I want to be specific here and say and clear that it's separate from this idea of being born again, but it's as Christ is born again in us. But what does that mean? What does that mean? This is the question every day, every hour for us. So we move forward from Isaiah. Here, I'm going to look ahead a little bit. Yeah, we don't really get back into Isaiah. It looks like we're just kind of, like we do on Sundays, we're going to stay in the Old Testament for a few days, and then we jump to a Psalm. Then it looks like we're going to jump to some New Testament, and then we jump, in a sense, back to this birth narrative, this, in the Gospel of Matthew, things that we've heard actually these past few weeks, past few Sundays. But we're reminded again as we move forward, not only into the Christmas season, through the Christmas season, but then also the season of Epiphany. Anyway. Here's our picture for today. Ring the bells, right? Announce that Christ is born. Psalm 96, verses 1 through 3. Sing to the Lord a new song. Sing to the Lord all the earth. Sing to the Lord, bless the name of the Lord. Proclaim God's salvation from day to day. Declare God's glory among the nations and God's wonders among all peoples. I'll probably mispronounce his last name, but this comes from someone that we know, I imagine, very closely or very familiar, Theodore Seuss Geisel. Dr. Seuss. From How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. Not presents with a C, but presents with a T, right? Gifts. Oh, the singing. Dr. Seuss's classic Christmas book for children of all ages invites us to stand in wordless, holy wonder. What will the Who's do if all the decorations disappear? If the presents aren't presented? If the feasting falters for lack of food? They'll sing, of course. And they'll be in good company. People once enslaved in Egypt crossing the Red Sea sang. Exiles in Babylon longing for home sang. Hannah, Elizabeth, and Mary, hearing the promise of a child, sang. Angels making a birth announcement to shepherds sang. Early Christians gathered for worship sang. They sang knowing who was making the promises. They knew who they could trust. Oh, the singing. All of us cling to the same hope. When we're feasting on God's promises, that's enough. We are enough. We have enough. And that's enough. Oh, the singing. Yes, there's so many things, so many thoughts I have with that. Because what is something that, gosh, probably for a long time now, I would say decades, but that's only going as long as I've been conscious of these things. People come and they get in church and they're, oh, why do we sing so much? Why do we have to sing so much? Here's the reason. Because we're celebrating. It's a celebration. As I haven't said in a sermon for a while, but it's the truth. This is a party. This is a party to get together for the larger party. It's a party for the party. Why do we sing? We sing in our sorrows. We sing in our joys. We sing because of that intimate connection we have with God through faith, and now because of Christ, the true and the fact that God desires that intimate relationship with us. And there's nothing that can break that. And we should sing about that. Sing in celebration. Excuse me. And it's not about what we sound like. It's not about any of that. It's about just everything else. It's just the joy and the fact of that relationship existing and how deep it is, how deep that relationship goes. Dr. Seuss, who I seem to remember was often talked about, not necessarily being an atheist, but an agnostic, believed in something, right? That's what it means to be agnostic. We don't know what. And maybe this is when I'll get comments. Maybe not. We don't know what we believe, but we believe something. We believe there is something else. There is something that guides us. A professor of mine, a scholar, theologian, said it is impossible to be an atheist because we all believe in something. And atheism is a lack of belief. I may be wrong, and if so, that's where I'm looking for comments. Because even if I believe in one thing and an atheist or whomever believes in something else or nothing at all, we are still bonded. That's what I believe. That's what I believe. There's an intimacy there. Intimacy, connection, deep, deep connection. I think that's what we forget. Yeah, Dr. Seuss, the Who's, right? They don't have no decorations to write. You need those. No, they don't have presents. There's not a feast because there's no food. But what do? They sing because they know that relationship is there, and that's what matters. Yeah, the people enslaved in Egypt crossing the Red Sea, what did they do? They sang. The exiles in Babylon for nearly 100 years, longing to go home. Even those that had never been home sang just simply from the stories and the tales that their older generations told. And then imagine they go back. It's like, okay, you've heard all this stuff. Now it's your turn. You're going back. You're out of exile. What do? They built the temple, right? It says the second temple. They built it because they wanted to have this connection to God, right? And I think we don't realize that as well. They go back in roughly 500 BC, and Jesus comes around in, let's say, 0, right? I don't even remember, but you have, BC or BCE and AD and what have you, ACE after Common Era or whatever. So what about those years in between? Did time just stop? I don't know. Anyway, I know there's a simple answer to that, but 500 years and they're still building this temple. They're still building it. So that adds even more. I'm babbling here, but then he adds even more to when Jesus says, oh yeah, this will be torn down. What? We've been building this for hundreds of years. And then on top of that, this is what we're doing to show our connection. This is where God is with us in this temple, in that back room, in the ark, right? This is now I'm blanking on the room that's surrounded by the curtain, right? It's so much there. But still, these people in exile, they sang. Hannah, Elizabeth, and Mary, with joy, they sang because the promised child is coming. The angels, they sang the birth announcement to the shepherds. Early Christians, who, mind you, were being persecuted for their faith and and seen as rebels who had to meet in secret. And the thing is, there's still Christians and other faiths that have to meet the same way, but they do it. Why? That relationship, the meaning, the power of it. Yes, they gathered, and what do? They sang. They sang knowing who was making the promises. They know who they could trust, and they sang. Powerful, powerful stuff. Powerful stuff. And our closing prayer comes from a hymn we probably know, maybe not, entitled, What a Fellowship, What a Joy Divine. Right? Leaning safe and secure in all alarms, leaning on the everlasting arms. Amen. Good stuff. So, thanks if you watched the whole thing as we approach 11 minutes. But until tomorrow, God bless.